Please stand. The Vice Chancellor's procession. The Vice Chancellor's procession are directors of academic programs, directors of institutes, directors of academic units. The deans of faculties, the dean of students, also on the Vice Chancellor's procession are the provosts, College of Medical Sciences and Postgraduate Studies. The principal officers of the university also form the Vice Chancellor's procession. So does the inaugural lecturer, the Vice Chancellor's procession. First stanza of the national anthem, followed by the Uniben anthem. Mr. Osahon, thank you, sir. Please let's put our hands together for the alumni chair. Thank you, sir. And so, our distinguished Vice Chancellor in learned silk, Professor Edoba Omoegie, SAN, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic, Professor Chief Victor Igbineweka. All excellencies here present, Your Royal Highnesses, former Vice Chancellors of our university and heads of institutions, other principal officers of our great university, the provosts, deans, directors, the inaugural lecturer and his family, professors emeriti, other esteemed scholars in the arena, my Lord's spiritual, greatest Uniben staff and students, invited guests, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you warmly to this 362nd inaugural lecture of the University of Benin. Today promises to be another intellectually rewarding day as we listen to this lecture to be delivered by our very amiable Professor of Electronics. I now invite to the microphone the Director, Senate Matters, Mrs. Comfort Ehigiato, who is standing in for the Registrar of the University to formally introduce the Vice Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor's procession. Director, ma'am.
I welcome you all to the 362nd inaugural lecture in the series of this great university. The Registrar of the University, Mr. Ademola Bobola, is away on official assignments outside the university, and he has requested me to represent him. He sends his greetings to you all. I am Comfort Inyegumena Eyigiato, Director, Senate Matters. All courtesies duly extended. As stated by the Public Relations Officer of this university, Dr. Mrs. Benedita Ehanire, let me introduce the Vice Chancellor's procession. Today's procession is led by a determined, focused, transformational, and energetic Vice Chancellor. I therefore crave your indulgence to present to this great audience our own learned sick Vice Chancellor, Professor Edoba Omoegie, who is represented by the DVC academic, Professor V.O. Igbineweka. Other principal officers, provosts, deans, and directors in his procession are as follows. Deputy Vice Chancellor Ekema, Professor B.A. Ayede. The University Bossa, Mr. O.I. Osifo. The University Librarian is represented by Mrs. Patience Kayoma. Provost College of Postgraduate Studies, Professor D.N. Izeko. Provost College of Medical Sciences, Professor W.E. Sado. The host dean, who is the inaugural lecture for today, is represented by Professor O.R. Ogiribo. Dean, Faculty of Agric, Professor C.O. Emokaro. Dean, Faculty of Arts, Professor O.B. Osadolo. Dean, School of Basic Clinical Sciences, represented by Professor G.D. Forai. Dean, School of Basic Medical Sciences, Professor H.B. Osadolo. Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, Professor M.A. Ohaku. Dean, Faculty of Computing, Professor Mrs. Vivian Akukuma. Dean, School of Dentistry, Professor Mrs. J.E. Enabulele. Dean, Faculty of Education, Professor Elvin Sagbonlaho. Dean, Faculty of Environmental Sciences, Professor Eigiato Irugbe Raphael. Dean, Faculty of Life Sciences, Professor T.O.T. Imobe. Dean, Faculty of Management Sciences, Professor S.O. Igbinosa. Dean, School of Medicine, Professor W. Osarogiagbon. Dean, Faculty of Nursing Science, Professor F.U. Okafor. Dean, Faculty of Optometry, Professor Mrs. F.K. Idu. Dean, Faculty of Pharmacy, Professor Igodaro Igbe. Dean, Faculty of Physical Sciences, Professor J.I. Gbebu. Dean, Faculty of Science Laboratory Technology, Professor J.O. Samese. Dean, Faculty of Vocational and Technical Education, Professor Mrs. E.E. Uko Aviomo. Director, Center for Gender Studies, Professor Mrs. Lucy A. Okupon. Director, Intellectual Property and Technology Transfer Office, Professor S.E. Omonigo. Director, Tech Fund, Center of Excellence in Aquaculture and Food Technology, Professor Mrs. Ijoma Obo. Director, Strategic Planning and Quality Assurance, Professor Peter I. Sede. Director, University Advancement and Alumni Relations, Professor Eddie Eraigbe. Director, Advanced Digital Engineering Center, ADEC, Professor R.U.S. Ewojaye. Director, Directorate of Research, Innovation and Development, Professor Mrs. N.F. Nuigbe. Director, Directorate of External Leakages and Internalization, Professor Mrs. A.E. Odiko. Director, Students Counseling and Career Service Center, Professor Mrs. O.N. Aye. Director, General Studies, Professor N. Ohomba. Director, Central Research Lab, Professor B. Ihejagbe. Director, UBIS, Professor S.D. Iyeke. Director, Step B Program, Professor Mrs. N. Kayode Ojo. Director, NELFON, Professor E. Imariagbe. Acting Director, Institute of Education, Dr. K. Imaswen. Acting Director, Institute of Public Admin and Health Services Management, Dr. John Osagai. Director, Center for Maritime and ICT, Dr. F.O. Uworien. Director, Consultancy Services Unit, Professor R.O. Edokpia. Director, Center for Educational Technology, Dr. Mrs. M.B. Araowa. Director, Center for Artificial Intelligence Development, Dr. E. Olaye. Director, Uniben Environmental Marshal Services, Dr. E.O. Osagiobare. Director, Institute of Herbal and Complementary Medicine. Director, Academic Planning is represented by Dr. Mrs. O.M. Edeki. Leading the Vice Chancellor's procession is Mrs. Dupe Obayagmo, Senior Assistant Registrar, Senate Matters Division. And I have the honor and privilege to invite our dear Vice Chancellor to introduce the inaugural lecturer for today. Vice Chancellor, sir.
evening, very distinguished professors, guests and friends of the university. I welcome you to the 362nd Inaugural Lecture Series of the Great University of Benin. Our dear Vice Chancellor, Professor Edoba B. Omerigi, SAN, is on official assignment, along with some other university principal officers. He has been there for about 4 days now. Very serious university assignment across some major cities in Nigeria. So he sends his very warm greetings to all of you. He has therefore asked that I stand in his stead and read the address as presented by the Vice Chancellor, Professor Bright Edoba Omerigi, SAN, and the introduction of the lecturer, Professor Kingsley Osaro Ogbede, on the occasion of the 362nd, the inaugural lecture series of this great university. It is my honor, therefore, to read the address as given to me by the Vice Chancellor. Principal officers of the University of Benin, Provost College of Postgraduate Studies, the Provost College of Medical Sciences, Deans of Faculties, Directors of Institutes and Centers, members of University Council, Governing Council here present, Professors Emeriti and members of Senate, my Lord, spiritual and temporal, the great staff and students of the University of Benin, distinguished invited guests, and friends of the university, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is with delight I welcome you all to the 362nd, the inaugural lecture series of the University of Benin. Today's lecture is the 5th to be delivered in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, the 22nd in the Faculty of Engineering, and the 33rd to be delivered in my tenure as Vice Chancellor of this great institution. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our lecturer for today. He is Professor Kingsley Osaro Ogbede. Thank you. The title of his lecture is Poor Communication Services, a Telecommunication Engineer's Discourse. Professor Kingsley Osaro Ogbede was born in Benin City to the family of Elder Godwin Ogbede and Mrs. Grace Esohe Ogbede of Oredo local government area, Edo State. He had his primary school education at Enikao Primary School, Benin City, where he obtained his first school leaving certificate. He attended Immaculate Conception College, ICC, Benin City, where he obtained his West African school certificate. Professor Ogbede gained admission into the University of Benin, where he obtained diploma in computer engineering with a credit pass in 1998. He thereafter gained admission through direct entry into the University of Benin and graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering degree, Electrical and Electronics Engineering, first class honors. He made first class honors in 2005. He participated in the one-year mandatory National Youth Service from 2006 to 2007. To broaden his knowledge, Professor Ogbede obtained the following additional degrees from the University of Benin. Masters in Engineering, Electrical and Telecommunications, 2008. PhD in Electronic and Telecommunications, 2014. Professor Ogbede joined the services of the University of Benin in November 2007 as a graduate assistant in the Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, and rose through the ranks to the position of a professor in 2020. Over the years, Professor Ogbede has held some administrative positions within and outside the University of Benin, such as member, University of Benin Academic Regulation Committee, 2014 to date, member Uniben Task Force on Boundary, 2015 to 2018, Acting Director, Advanced Digital Engineering Center, ADEC, February to July 2015. Deputy Director, Center for Distance Learning, Uniben, 2015 to 2018. Member, Uniben Scholarship and Prize Committee, 2019 to 2020. Chairman, Faculty of Engineering Scholarship and Prize Committee, 2019 to date. Chairman, Faculty of Engineering Quality Assurance Committee, 2021 to 2022. Head of Department, Electrical and Electronics Engineering, 2023 to 2025. Dean, Faculty of Engineering, 2025 to date. Professor Ogbede belongs to the following professional bodies and associations. Member, Cisco Certified Network Association. Corporate member, Nigerian Society of Engineers. Member, Registered Electrical Engineers Council for the Regulation of Engineering in Nigeria. Member, Institute of Electronics Engineering, USA. Fellow, National Institute of Professional Engineers and Scientists. He's a recipient of some outstanding awards and scholarships. Petroleum Technology Development Fund, PTDF, Abuja Scholarship for Short Study at the Grenoble École de Management Technology and Innovation Center, Grenoble, France. University of Benin Research and Publications Committee, grants for doctoral studies. Third Fund Institute-based research grant winner for 2019-2020 academic session. Award of Excellence by the University of Benin Alumni Association in recognition of contribution to the growth and development of the University of Benin. Corporate Award presented by the Nigerian Society of Engineers, Benin branch, in recognition of the advancement in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Award of Excellence by the Student Union Government, SUG, of the UBTH, Institute of Health Technology. Award of Excellence by the Society of Electrical and Electronics Engineering students for astounding dedication, guidance, and support to students' welfare. Professor Ogbede possesses the following certificates. Certificate for successful completion of Mundo Specialist Training Program, Berlin, Germany, 31st March to 1st April 2016. Certificate for completion of university's lecturer skill enhancement training program, Grenoble, France, 2014. He has successfully supervised 9 PhD theses, several MSc theses, and numerous undergraduate projects. Professor Ogbede has over 68 publications, comprising chapters in books and articles in peer-reviewed journals. He has served as external examiner, assessor, resource person to federal, state, and many private universities. Professor Ogbede also served as doctoral thesis examiner, external examiner to Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, University of Johannesburg, South Africa. He has attended several local, national, and international conferences. Professor Ogbede's hobbies are playing table tennis, he also plays lawn tennis. He is blessed with a very happy family. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite Professor Osaro Ogbede to deliver his lecture.
My adorable Vice Chancellor, ably represented by the Deputy Vice Chancellor Akkad. Thank you. Permit me to quickly recognize all the wonderful principal officers of this great citadel of learning, and also the members of the PDD, as well as your very self. Good evening, everyone. Also, with the kind permission of Mr. Vice Chancellor, I will just commence the lecture. Thank you. First, I want to dedicate this inaugural lecture to the memory of my late daughter. She was killed by invading armed robbers on the 19th of November 2016. She would have been 14 in 2 months' time. Also, dedicating this lecture to my mentor. I want you to stand up, Professor Frederick Obaideko. Thank you, sir. He was my MS supervisor, PhD supervisor. He has been a father to me. Thank you, sir. I want to give you some little story, background story. On our return from the burial of Professor Charles Salami, the former VC invited me for that burial ceremony. Professor Mrs. Lucy Okupon and myself, we engaged in a conversation. And in that conversation, she impressed upon me very seriously to deliver my inaugural lecture. And so I obliged. I told her where I will put in when I get to Benin. And this is the process that led to what is happening today. So I want to thank Professor Ms. She was the one that pushed me, and it was a very good push. Thank you. So therefore, Mr. Vice Chancellor, principal officers of this great university, it is now with profound gratitude that I stand before you all to deliver my inaugural lecture. The title of this lecture is Poor communication services, a telecommunications engineer's discourse. It will look as if it's a lamentation, is it not? But it's really not. It's just a diagnosis, a technical exposition of what poor communication services is all about. So we'll be starting with the multidimensional nature of poor communication services, and we shall be transversing both the technical and infrastructural dimensions of poor communication services. Then we'll wrap up the lecture with my research experience. I must tell you that this lecture is the very first to be delivered in the Electronic and Telecommunication Engineering specialization in the Department of Electrical Engineering. Thank you very much. So we are dealing with telecommunication here. What is telecommunication? It's nothing other than the transfer of information from a sender to a receiver using different manner of transmission media, fiber optics, cable, or even radio waves. You see, man has always communicated right from time. Man talk to man, even man has sometimes used smoke as a means of communication, drums. But this first man here, called Samuel Morse, is credited to being the first person to start electronic form of communication when he developed what we call the electronic telegraph. Decades later, this man, Graham Bell, came up with an idea that he can convert human voice directly to electrical signal that flows through wire, and then at the other end, get converted back to sound. That was the birthing of the telephone system. It was a wired system. The next man there is called Guglielmo Marconi. This man leveraged on the work of people like James Maxwell, Henry Hertz, to practically show that you can use radio waves to transmit information. And therefore, wireless communication system was bettered. And it was quickly deployed in that Titanic ship that sank in 1912. Remember that ship? The builder said even God cannot sink that ship. But when that ship sank, it was the wireless telephonic system, telegraphy system in that ship that was used to relate information to the shore for rescue operation to come. However, the lover boy in that film has to die. He couldn't make it because he froze to death. This is how a basic wireless communication system looks like. It has three components. It has the transmitting side, the receiving side. In between that, we have the radio channels. Whenever there's poor communication, just know that something is happening in any of these three sides. So wireless communication is now very ubiquitous. These are the different forms: broadcasting, satellite, all manner of wireless communication system is in existence. Mobile communication is the fastest growing of all. Some countries now have 6G, are not talking of 6G. We're actually trying to settle down with 4G. Now let's look at the paradox in connectivity. Billions of people are connected to the internet. Billions of people have subscription, mobile subscription. But there's a troubling reality here. The billions of people connecting, wirelessly through internet or by way of mobile communication services, they don't enjoy good services. This cuts across different countries, at least even in Paris, even in UK, I have seen it that sometimes there are network problems. And it manifests in issues like drop call, not able to upload or download information from the internet with good speed. So what is this poor communication services? We are saying whenever we say poor communication service, it means that a communication network that is supposed to deliver service optimally is not performing up to expectation. And so you can see an example on the screen. A message was sent. Maybe this young man sent a message, let's meet by 4 p.m. And the lady got the message at 9 p.m. This is a clear-cut manifestation of poor communication service. How do we evaluate poor communication service? In engineering, we have different ways to evaluate this. either through availability. Is it available? If it's not available at all, that popular man say, if he didn't day, he didn't day. You see, if a communication network is not available at all, that becomes the poorest of communication service. But what if it is day and then it's not day at the acceptable level? That means it's not reliable. Reliability is not there. It's a way of describing communication services. In technical terms, we use maybe quality of service. If the first three are okay, can people afford it? If a network is all available and people cannot afford it, it's still a way of describing poor communication services. If all these four are also okay, and people can tap into your communication system, and no security, it's still a form of poor communication services. And lastly, equity. If you have a lot of communication service in the urban areas, and yet in the rural areas, people cannot communicate, it's still a kind of poor communication service. So we'll continue this discourse by looking at the dimensions of poor communication services. The first one is technical in nature. When we say technical, that means there's nothing you can do much about this type of communication, dimension of poor communication service. Sorry. Path loss is the first under this dimension. I must really explain to you what path loss. That is, when signal gets transmitted from an antenna towards a receiver, as you transverse distance away from the transmitter, there is reduction in the signal power. That is natural. And so it's like when you're close to the sun and the sun is so hot, but as you come towards the earth, the heat energy has reduced. So that is how it is in signal propagation. And so when you can play a poor signal close to your house, find out if your house is the nearest base station to your house and your house is far away from it, you are going to experience very poor communication service. Unless you shift your house towards where the base station is, but that is not possible. We also have an issue of multipath fading as another main cause of poor communication service. Signal does not just go through one direction. Signal will go through here, it will bounce off, it passes through so many paths. And then at the receiving end, they try to combine. As they try to combine, it combines either constructively or destructively to cause a rapid fluctuating signal. And therefore, you'll be talking, and sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down. This is a form of poor communication service as well. We also have shadowing concern as it pertains to poor communication services. When you enjoy your DSTV and suddenly one man buy a land and build a big house and block the path, the signal is coming to your house. Sorry, you will not enjoy good communication service anymore. That means some people may have to demolish some houses before they can enjoy good communication services. We have interference concern as well. Now let's look at another dimension of poor communication services. That is the capacity/demand imbalance. So you have a network capacity as shown on that screen. You can look at the size and you can see the load, the demand. This is like a city where you have 100,000 cars and then you have just a single lane road. Change that road to a 50-lane road and see whether people will not be flying. So this is another concern. When you have so many users trying to download, trying to upload material, and the bandwidth for this to happen is small, you will definitely see what we call poor communication services. What of cell congestion? The modern communication system is cellular in nature. What that means is that large geographical areas are broken down into smaller areas called cells. And then base stations are installed in all these cells. So these base stations are meant to serve a particular number of users. Imagine a campus is suddenly built in such cell site area. More users has come. Everybody wants to use the network. What happened? You will experience so many blocked calls. You try to call, it just cannot connect. It's because somebody else has occupied the channel you would have used to call. You will experience a lot of blocked calls. Other causes of poor communication in this regard is due to backhaul, problem with the backhaul network. You can always see the marks. Your phone interacts with the marks using what we call the air interface. But every marks is also linked up to a core network. If there's problem with those core network and the marks is looking very okay, you will experience poor communication network. Even the core network itself. The core network is where all those billing services are taking place, handover processes are carried out, and so many other functions. If the core network also gets overloaded, it also leads to poor communication services. We look at another dimension. This is a very serious dimension. It's a very serious dimension in our client. Power supply. Telecommunication infrastructure needs power to thrive. So majority of the time when you network is, you cannot communicate, this is 70% of the time. That's what research has found out. It's due to this matter. Either the base station is down, there's no main supply, and sometimes even the generator that is supposed to come up when the mains goes off, the generator is down. And if there is no provision of alternative power supply, that cell will completely be out, and then you cannot make call. That is poor communication service. Climatic factors affect communication systems. Some very lightning flashes destroy a lot of communication system and causes poor communication services. What of physical security, especially vandalism, theft? Let's see this picture. Like human being like this, dysfunctional human being. He doesn't need a rope to tie a goat to a tree. He has gone to cut fiber optic cable. And this is causing a lot of network failure all over the place. And the other issue around this dimension is maintenance and repair. Many of the base stations are located in remote places. What if something happens to a base station that is so far away? Can you at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock go and start fixing it? So that means for that period, you may not be able to communicate. These are all factors that causes poor communication services. We still have an issue like investment gap in our network systems. I believe that before it was time for operators to start packing in all the money, they needed to do more investment first. And so there's still wide investment gap that is still contributing to poor communication service. You can also bet that the urban-rural divide is still a big factor in this matter. All investment is concentrated at the urban center. Nobody is talking about the rural area. It's contributing to poor communication services. We have the spectrum aspect, spectrum management and allocation. You see, the resource that we use in communication engineering is frequency, the RF spectrum. So the RF spectrum is scarce. It's not scarce. It's like that. It's a paradox. It's scarce in the sense that the usable part of the RF spectrum that will sustain good communication, it's like it's not much. It's just below 3 gigahertz. And if you are to transmit using higher frequency or go deeper in the RF spectrum, like the 5G promised to use, you will definitely experience poor communication, because as the signal gets higher, the rate of signal attenuation also gets higher, and then you will have poor signals. Interference problems are there because of you may not understand this, what we'll call cell splitting every now and then in cellular communication system. The reuse distance between co-channel cells get too close to each other, and you have interference problem coming up. Whenever there is interference, this is a manifestation of poor communication services. Are there consequences to poor communication services? It's a big yes. Productivity losses. Imagine a maker that have gone to bank to pay for raw material for his production, and the bank tells him, sorry, we cannot transfer your money, our network is down. How will he get goods, raw materials for his production? This is a consequence of poor communication service. Whenever investors hear that a nation does not have good broadband connectivity, they are not interested in making investment in such country. They are not. We also have consequences in the social domain. Education is seriously affected. Imagine what happened during the COVID-19 era. In the COVID-19 era, universities were shut down because of poor communication services. When we resumed, we started from where we stopped before. If communication service was so good, we'll continue from where we stopped online and not go back to where we stopped when the COVID started. What of healthcare limitation? My elder brother is a consummate consultant radiologist. I'm sure he would have loved to send the images of whatever is scanning with the MRI machine or CT scan, send it directly elsewhere to where it's needed. But where will you see that communication network that will give such clarity in transmission? It's a big problem. It's a big problem, so in the sense that it causes social isolation. You are enjoying yourself here. Many people cannot contact their great-grandfather or their father in the village due to poor communication services. Security-wise, there are ramifications of poor communication services. How many people have died in our country because when they were in an emergency situation, the telecommunication services were not available? They couldn't be helped. Only a phone call would have saved so many lives, but the services were not there for them. How do we mitigate these communication services? We have technical solutions. The current system we have is where we have base stations everywhere. The Elon Musk of this world have done something very astounding. We now have constellation of satellite in space. So if you can afford such phone, even if your house is so far away from base station, just use the satellite communication system for communication. That is a way forward. What of the TV white spaces? I don't know whether you understand what TV white spaces is. But TV white spaces are holes in the spectrum band allocated to a user. So if you are to roll out the communication services, NCC will tell you, use between 750 maybe to 800 megahertz. That is your band. But within that band, you will not be using all of them at the same time. There will be some hosts. Those hosts can be used by other communication system for communication. We need to tidy up our policy reforms. We can enforce quality. We can enforce quality. There are minimum key performance indicators in communication services. If you dial a number 10 times, you are supposed to have a success rate of 80%. So all this must be enforced at all time. We must begin to look at using dynamic spectrum form of allocation instead of the static one that we are currently using. We will see more of this when we are talking about our contributions. So university have roles to play in this matter. all manner of research, direct research that could directly mitigate poor communication services or some other local research, monitoring work. These are some of the things we'll be doing over the years. So what roles does a telecommunication engineer plays in ensuring good communication services? A telecommunication engineer is involved in planning. Any activity you carry out before you deploy a communication system is called planning. A telecommunication engineer will also involve in the physical deployment of such communication system and carry out continuous monitoring of already installed communication system. Maintenance work is carried out, and researches are also carried out by a telecommunication engineer. My research contribution. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, my distinguished audience, my research contribution in the field of television and radio communication system monitoring, radio propagation, cellular communication system are as follows. First, in a quest to investigate quality of television services in Edo State, we undertook a drive test across senatorial district of Edo State monitoring TV signal. We chose 3 television stations, some in the ultra-high frequency band and some in the very high frequency band, VHF and UHF. This is my very self in that place when we are at Ologbo and Ewu after Boma. Because every point we were taking measurement, because if you want to know the quality of a TV signal, you will know through the signal strength available at a particular location. So our task was to measure signal strength at each location, and then we georeference each of these points where these signals were measured. That means we took the longitude and latitude information. And they were able to work with people in the Ministry of Land and Survey, and were able to situate every point we took measurement in the digitized map of Edo State. If you cannot visualize coverage, your physical eye, when you go out there now, you will not know whether EBS or AIT signal is around. You won't know with your eyes. So you must use a map. That's why Ugbedi and Edeko 2016, we developed a television coverage map for Edo State. A coverage map is not just a map for decorating the wall. It's a map that is used for planning purposes. A map that will show you where service exists or where it is weak, where it is absent. And so when you know whether it's weak or absent, you know what decision to take. So therefore, we use a combination of Software 8 and ArcGIS software to develop a contour map for TV coverage in Edo State. This is what is shown in the figure, in the diagram you are currently seeing. You can see that some parts are red, some are blue. It's different coloration telling you different level of TV services that is available at those areas. The red one means areas where you have very good services, primary coverage area. We also carried out what we call the coverage area analysis, because signal varies. So we, Edeko and Ogbedi and Edeko 2014, we have already first of all shown that signal strength indeed has very strong variability, both in the VHF and in the UHF. And so by the time we did the analysis, you can see 3 figures there. One is having more white. That means that one has more fringe coverage area. When the operator sees such analysis, they are able to know or determine, are we going to increase our transmitter power, or are we going to build a booster station somewhere so that we can have more primary coverage and secondary coverage areas. Because those are the coverage type that is well needed. We have made contribution in radio propagation, modeling, and testing. You see, when signal fails, society feels it. So it's frustration. When you try to look at the TV and you see snowy television picture or frozen video streams, these are all big technical problems, and the important question to ask yourself before the deployment of those systems, which propagation model was used to plan such system? That's why Ogbede et al. 2018, we developed a long distance path loss model, both for the UHF and the VHF, for VHF and UHF signal propagation in those states. Those models, they are shown in those equations. When you develop a model, you use certain statistical tools to evaluate if they are applicable in such environment. And so we use the root mean square error and the mean prediction error to determine this, and these models were very satisfactory. In short, the graphical plot of the measured path loss with the path loss we got from our model is shown. You can see that there are some curves there that are very close to each other, having a very close fit, telling us that the model performed very well. That was an empirical model we developed for our region. There are so many other existing models. One particular model we call the free space path loss model. The equation is given equation 4. Don't worry if you don't understand it, it's okay. The free space path loss model is, we call it an over-ambitious model. It's not always good for planning radio services by many researchers. And so we also show over here, Gbede and Ekoko 2017, we justify the non-applicability of free space path loss model. Because when you evaluate it, the root mean square error value is in excess of 7 dB, which is required for accepting a model. We have another empirical model that we tested over here. That is the HATAS model. If you go online, you see a lot of work in HATAS model. Because the HATAS model is so popular, Ogbede and Okole 2015, we decided to develop a graphical user interface for calculating prediction from the HATAS model. This is a graphical user interface. You can input the different parameters and be able to calculate the path loss prediction from the HATAS model. Other work we did, Ogbede and the Decor 2013, we had initially shown that the popular HATAS model actually does not also depict the radio scenario in Edo State, and it needs to be modified. Ogbede and Ekwale 2018 did a work on early model testing for television planning in the UHF band of the Edo State. This work just shown actually that the early model provides some reasonable estimate, but there was discrepancy. Whenever there's discrepancy between a model and the actual measurement, that discrepancy is what is really accounting for the poorness in the signals you get in such communication system. So what we got from this research work was that failure in TV communication system is deeply rooted in inaccurate propagation modeling. There are so many other work we've carried out. Because of time, we have to remove many of the slides. Ogbede Ekwale 2018, we carried out a study on the comparative error bands of ETA and EGLA empirical prediction models. We have done other work before, Ogbede and Ojo 2014, Ogbede and Omoze 2017, Ogbede and Ayan 2017. And many of these, when we tested with all those existing models, we have always seen that other empirical models from other parts of the world doesn't depict the radio scenario in a locality. But we discovered that when we use machine learning prediction models, they give more accurate prediction, as shown by Ogbede and Echo 2016 in the work, Path Loss Prediction for VHF Signal Propagation in Edo State, Neural Network Approach. We have also carried out model testing in mobile telephony system. Ogbede and Omozet 70 again, we did course 231 model verification for GSM signal propagation. There are also models for planning GSM. And so these also have been used before deployment of GSM facilities. So we carried out this work within this university campus. The result is all the same. It's just the same as we got in television system planning. That poor use of radio models always is a contributing factor to poor communication services. We did a work on monitoring of quality of experience in mobile data usage. You know, we now live in a world that is data charged. You use Facebook, TikTok, you're doing so many things that involve use of data communication network. But which of these networks is really very good? So we pick out 3 stations. I won't tell you the stations we picked. But we took 3 stations and we investigated them. We checked out for certain parameters. Parameters for evaluating data network, parameters like packet loss, latency, jitters. We tested it and we did it for 3 different mobile communication networks. And we really found out that all networks, even in Nigeria, they are not mates. Some are faster in terms of downloading or uploading documents. But I won't tell you which one is better or which one is worse. Don't want anybody to come and attack me. Now we have made contribution in spectrum management and allocation. I told you earlier on that the resource we use in communication, engineering is frequency. That is the RF spectrum. So the current system spectrum allocation that we use is static licensing model. That means if Loved need to start a communication network, if we approach NCC, NCC will say, we are giving you 800 to 820 megahertz as your band. That is your band. No other user can come and use that band. So we now say, okay, if you have such static allocation system, is Loved communication system always using that band all the time? Let's design a system to check where that such band is always being used all the time. So in Dubois and Ogbede in 2008, we did a step towards enhancing spectrum utilization by implementing a spectrum sensing cognitive radio using the ROTL software-defined radio. We needed to know. And so we chose a particular frequency band and used these devices that I have just mentioned. And we discovered that there are a lot of spectrum holes. People say they have been allocated a particular spectrum, but they are not fully using such spectrum. A follow-up to that work was done by Bello and Ogbede 2021. We designed a real-time swept spectrum analyzer using the US ROP B210 device. You know, signals are everywhere. As we are talking now, signals are everywhere. They are not spiritual. You can't see them. You can't. It's not a spiritual phenomenon. It's an energy carrying, it carries energy. With what we call spectrum analyzer, you can visualize signal. You'll be able to tell in the particular band whether there's interference with the noise floor to identify congestion. And so we said that without real-time analytical tool, poor communication system remains a mystery rather than a solvable problem. So we in telecom engineering, if we're able to detect that within this frequency band, there is always interference. We can design network, filter system. In short, there's one of my PhD students that have done work in that area. I have to delete it because the slides were getting many. So you can design filter network that will filter out certain, signals away from a particular RF spectrum. We have made contribution in RF energy. We have seen that radio communication system also provide energy. Dubo and myself, we carry out this work, just a recent PhD work, and we discovered that there is energy that is available for powering all this sensor network. We are in the era of wireless sensor network. Instead of putting battery inside them, you can tap RF energy and use it to power some sensors. This was done in Uniben, and you can see that there is really availability of RF energy. We have done other work in cellular communication system. They are out there. Supervisor Dionhon, HOD of computer, and Daramola. Then we have contributed chapter in this book we titled Network Security Framework, Wireless Network Security Framework. That book has been published by Springer Nature. And we were able to show that poor communication service is not only when data does not arrive, it is when data arrives exposed. When you are not secure, you think you are making call, but somebody else is having access to what you are saying. That is the poorest of communication service as well. Other work we have done in short radio communication services are all listed there. Enalume, Ogbedi, development of Zigbee, tire pressure monitoring system, and other works. Now, a personal commitment. You see, inaugural lecture like this is an opportunity to tell you where we are coming from, where we are, and where we are going to. So, I came to Uniben, I've been involved in teaching. I'm telling you, I've been teaching with all my heart. I've been engaging in lots of public work. I've facilitated lots of training workshop, either at the faculty level or university level. And I have also delivered 9 solid PhD work. 9. Thank you. One of my students is clapping for me. Engineer Dr. Wanowo, please stand up. He was the first student I delivered from my womb. Thank you so much. Others are all listed there, Scott Dubo. Some of them are now associate professor. When I look at myself, I'm also very impressed that some of my students are also in the professorate. Clap for me if you want to. Several other work are at different level of completion. Some are working on effect of slicing in a 5G network. Some are still working on the LoRa network. Some are still looking more into spectrum management work. So many work we are trying to look at as a way of contributing to good communication services. Recommendation. We are what type of English is that? We are recommending that we institutionalize localized propagation models for network planning. Don't just go and carry one model from Japan and be using in Nigeria. It doesn't work. We should strengthen collaboration between academia and industry. We should invest in capacity building and adopt next generation technology. In concluding, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are taking you through a journey of the multidimensional nature of poor communication services. But we should be optimistic. With good investment, we can enjoy good communication services. Just a little philosophy. I have a doctor of philosophy degree. So I'm wishing that may our life transmit the signal of may our life not transmit the signal of poor services to mankind. Rather, let's transmit the bandwidth of fairness, love, empathy, and kindness. At this, we promote human harmony. Our world has lot of bickering, resentment, slanderings, extreme of hatred. These are all poor services to mankind. We must love, empathize, be kind to your fellow human being. This is what the human network needs. This is what the human network needs. Acknowledgements. I want to foremost acknowledge the Supreme God, the Almighty God, the Sovereign God, who is God all by himself. He needs no deputy God. He has no senior special assistant in ruling the affairs of man. This God has taught me by himself never to place emphasis on things that I have lost, but on things that I have got. He taught me that he got 2 fishes and 5 loaves. That is what he got. That is what he used. He didn't bother with thousands of loaves of fishes or bread that was already sold out. I especially acknowledge my adorable Vice Chancellor, who is absent here but represented, for this opportunity to stand here to deliver this lecture. I must also thank him. You know, my VC carries the emblem of justice. He demonstrated this during the election in the Faculty of Engineering. There was a free and fair election that brought me as the dean of that faculty, the largest faculty in the University of Benin. Thank you, sir. I acknowledge all the wonderful principal officers of this great university, the DVC admin, Professor Osumbo, DVC Akkad, Professor Victor Gbineweka, thank you for your support. The DVC Ekewan, Professor Ainde, Mr. Bobola Ademola, the registrar, Mr. Osagie Osifo. Please give this man a very strong slap. He knows why. Professor Mrs. Jane Abba, the University Librarian. I especially want to acknowledge one more time my mentor, Professor F. O. Edeko. Thank you so much for all that you have done. I definitely acknowledge the members of the PDD. They are all, as you see them, they are a wonderful set of people. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. To my staff in Dean's office, I acknowledge all of you, my assistant dean seated over there, my cleaner, my driver, I acknowledge you. I acknowledge the staff of the engineering workshop led by Mr. Sayanderi. I acknowledge my bosom senior brother, Professor K.O. Omorogiwa, IMDE past ranking dean. I greet you, sir. I greet all the wonderful staff in Faculty of Engineering, starting from Department of Chemical Engineering. The HOD is there. She has been smiling at me. I greet you, Professor Ms. Oyedo. Every other person in that domain, I greet you. I appreciate you. I appreciate people in the Department of Civil Engineering. They are there. Thank you. Professor Mrs. Ngozi Imekmen, thank you. The HOD of that department, Professor Zion, I acknowledge you. EK, over there. Rollins will soon be a prof. She was my first student in year 2000 in the computer school. I told you I'm getting old too. I acknowledge my friend in computer engineering. I must thank Dr. Olaye. Dr. Olaye was my undergraduate student. He's also associate professor and the director of Artificial Intelligence Center in the University of Benin. He physically was everywhere, hanging my banner and poster everywhere. Olaye, God bless you. Thank you. I want to acknowledge my bosom friend and younger brother. May your 2 eyes continue to be bright. I acknowledge Professor Onoabi. We call him Electrical 001. The IMDE past dean, Professor Ogunjo, and every other person is from that domain. I acknowledge all of you. I recognize people from the Mechanical Engineering Department. Professor Obano Binamaya, thank you. Binamaya came to advise me. He said I should eat very well before I stand here. I told him I will eat. I recognize people from Petroleum Engineering. I have very good people there. My very good brother, Dr. Monsaoen, my HOD, I thank you. Professor Lafuyi, Bello, Oduwa, and many of those people in that constituency. I appreciate you. I recognize staff of production engineering. I have a very fast star HOD there, Professor Amelome, where is he? You are too much. Thank you so much. This was the man that told me, Mr. Dean, we like you so much in this faculty. Just go and be preparing your lecture. We'll take care of every other thing. Thank you so much. God bless you. The chairman of the LOC committee, Professor Ebojaye, I thank you. I know we're in different political ship in the last deanship election, but we are able to work together now. Thank you so much. My time is almost up. I want to quickly appreciate members of my of my family. Engineer Wandogo, I thank you. Members of Heritage Assembly, I thank you. Church of God Mission, Christian Union people, these are wonderful people. Members of Ogba High Group, I thank you. Then to my family, let me go there before they off the mic. To my family, I want to deeply appreciate my parents for their love for education. I want to especially thank my elder brother who is here, a very consummate consultant, radiologist in town, Dr. Anthony Ogbede is here. Please, can you just wave your hand? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have my immediate elder brother, Dr. Frank Ogbede, is an economist and immediate past General Secretary of the Nigeria Economic Society. He couldn't fly in this afternoon. I acknowledge all my in-laws, my uncle, Mr. Edward Omosuye. I recognize him. He followed me up from primary school. He will say, go and reverse your work. We say, which car are we going to use to reverse? He keeps worrying us, and he has helped to produce us the way we are today. Thank you so much, sir. My uncle, Mr. Martin Ogbede, and every other person. I acknowledge the special one and the special children God has given me as proof of his procreative power. I return all glory to God. If I have not acknowledged you, it's by mistake. You are all declared adequately acknowledged. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, wonderful audience. Please sit. Please sit. A most clear and articulate lecture. What do you expect from a first-class scholar of the University of Benin? Please put your hands together. But forgive me. At a point, when Professor Ogbede acknowledged the bursar, I thought he said something like, give him a big slap. Oh, so clap was what he said. Please clap for Professor Ogbede again. Thank you, sir. I now respectfully invite the representative of the Vice Chancellor to recapitulate the lecture. Prof, sir.
It's a privilege to listen to a very first-class scholar, now a lecturer, very distinguished professor. So thank you. That was a very brilliant lecture and well delivered. This is the synopsis of the lecture that has been so delivered by no other person other than the Dean of Engineering himself, Professor Ogbede. This is the synopsis. The inaugural lecture examined the multi-dimensional nature of poor communication services from the perspective of a telecommunication engineer. It began with a brief historical account of telecommunication system and the various types. It then discussed the technical, infrastructural, regulatory, economic, and human dimensions and other dimensions of poor communication services. The lecture also highlighted the challenging causes of poor communication services, to include inadequate infrastructure, congested spectrum, weak regulatory capacity, affordability barriers, and the shortages of technical skills. However, the lecturer provided key solutions to the poor communication services to include covering the investment gaps and reforms that could promote quality communication services. The lecturer stated the roles telecommunication engineers play in mitigating poor communication services. They include poor planning communication systems, monitoring of already commissioned communication systems, and designing of systems that promote good communication services. The lecturer then concluded that with wisdom, will, and sustained efforts, we can build a world where quality communication services are universal and not just the privilege of a certain class of people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We invite the lecturer to be decorated by the representative of the Vice Chancellor, and a little correction there. Our scholar attended ICC and then later Edo College. So we invite the immediate family members, the wife, the children. If there are brothers, sisters, please join him for photograph. Immediate family members, please. Yes, brothers, sisters. Direct brothers, sisters. Not the Nigerian context. The Igbo context of brother and sister. Thank you very much. So as they do that, would like to welcome very specially the loving wife, who is also known as Loveth, Mrs. Loveth Obeide. Welcome. Please put your hands together for her. We welcome the beloved children, Etiosa, Inwinosa, Osanyamo, Peace, Osama, and Osayuwa. Welcome. We also welcome very specially the older brother, Dr. Tony Obeide. Welcome, sir. We welcome Pastor Daniel Omoegie, former Vice Chancellor, Professor Osasaye Faraday Orumesi. We welcome you, sir. Please encourage our former Vice Chancellor. Yes, let's appreciate him. More. He's always with us. It means that in his heart of hearts, he truly loves Uniben. Thank you, sir, for coming. We welcome Professor Emeritus Raymond Eliho. Please appreciate the Emeritus Professor, please. Professor Emeritus T.O.K. Audu, we welcome you, sir. Professor Emeritus Julius Ikatua, welcome, sir. We welcome very heartily former acting DVC Administration, Professor Maureen Ebomoyi. Welcome, ma. We welcome Professor Venerable Mon Wandiani. Welcome, sir. We welcome the immediate past Dean of Education, Professor Kingsley Omo Ogiwa. We welcome you. We welcome Professor Sunday Onohaibi. Welcome the former Dean of Engineering, Professor John Akobi. Welcome, sir. We welcome the former Dean of Law, Professor Nathaniel Inegbedion. We welcome you. We welcome another former Dean of Law, Professor Richard Idubo, PhD. That's how he likes to be called. Welcome, sir. We welcome Professor Efo Edeko, former DVC Administration, Professor Jacob Ehiorobo. Welcome, sir. We welcome you. We welcome Dr. Wilson Iogwe. We welcome former Dean of Life Sciences, Professor Jerry Odwe. We welcome Professor Godwin Ariavie. Welcome. You are shocked. Welcome, sir. We welcome Professor Ovie Umukoro, Dr. Augustine Agbonaye. We welcome you, sir. We welcome Mr. Nobakaye. Welcome very specially. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, very interesting lecture, but that's how we conclude the 352nd inaugural lecture of the University of Benin. But just before we go, we shall take the Uniben anthem and then the national pledge. pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God. Please remain standing. The Vice Chancellor's procession will depart. McDonald, keep it under. I still have names, but they will recess. And as they do that, we want to welcome. Please stay where you are. No serving of food. At this time, we want to welcome very specially the former acting bursar of our university, Mr. Gabriel Osadolo. Welcome, sir. We also welcome, we also welcome Mr. Harry Sosaye, Senior Deputy Registrar. Welcome, sir. We welcome Professor Chinwe Maduagu. We welcome Professor Mrs. Eso Olubodu. We welcome Professor R.B. Dania. We welcome Professor Osaitin Aibovo. We welcome Professor Mrs. E.U. Edosoma. We welcome Engineer Professor P.E. Orukpe. Professor S.C. Agahowa. We thank you for coming. We also thank you for coming, Professor D.I. Igunoma here. Professor Mrs. C.O. Okeime, thank you, sir. Immediate Past Dean of Engineering, Professor Emmanuel Ogujo, we thank you for coming. We thank you for coming, Professor Godwin Sajeri. Thank you all for coming.